for our success. We are so delighted to have you here today. We have a wonderful show planned for you, and you're going to be so glad that you tuned into this, because I don't think there are too many places where you can find the information that we have for you today. You know, I'm going to introduce, first of all, my co-host, Coach Mary Ann.
Hi, everybody.
Mary Ann. She's back in Michigan now, aren't you, Mary Ann? So
yes, I am.
right.
And so, yeah.
All right. And also Marquise Evans.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, our health specialist.
Yes.
And minister, Marquise Evans. We're so glad to see you today, Marquise.
Yes, good to be here.
And, yes. And you're going to introduce our guest speaker today, aren't you?
With honor and a privilege, yes.
Yes, okay, take it away.
It is my honor and distinct privilege to present to you our guest speaker for this evening, Deborah J. Sudduth, family arrangements and pre-need counselor working with families, making final arrangements for family members or pre-need arrangements themselves. She has worked with families for over 5 years at Paradise Funeral Chapel and Arrangement Services here in Lansing, Michigan. Deborah is licensed by the state of Michigan as an insurance agent for final arrangements. She is a graduate of Lansing Community College here in Lansing, Michigan. And of course, she is well-trained in the business. She is a 2012 Emerging Leaders Academy class member and front team member, National Education Association. Deborah is very active in the community, serving on various boards and committees, Tri-County Rebuilding Together Board member, 2017 to present, Tri-County Rebuilding Together Executive Board member, 2018 to present, and Tri-County Rebuilding Together co-president, 2020 to present, the Jack Pitts Golf Committee, 2018 to present. She works, she volunteers, and serves her community with many other organizations, many too numerous to mention. So it is with honor and a privilege. And without any further ado, I present to you Ms. Deborah J. Sudduth, who will, in her own words, tell us a little bit about herself.
Thank you, Marcus. And Linda and Coach Mary, it's very nice to be here with you this evening. I am a Lansing native, born and raised, and my life has taken me through many different changes and challenges and different types of situations to bring me to this point in my life. 5 years ago, actually 6 years ago, I started at Paradise Funeral Chapel and Arrangement Services as the receptionist. And our owner, Mr. Ivan Phillips, saw something in me and asked me if I thought about becoming a pre-need counselor and a family arrangements counselor. And I told him yes. So he sponsored me to go to insurance school to obtain my limited license to sell pre-need insurance, and paid for me to take the test. And I passed it, and I've been doing it ever since. And I've recently discovered that this is my ministry. It's what God would want me to do for his kingdom, and I'm happy to do it. It's a passion. People, when they come and see me, feel like the weight of the world is on their shoulders. They have no idea what to do next or where to even begin. And my goal every time I meet with a new family is to make sure that when they leave the meeting from me, that they feel like the weight of the world has been lifted off their shoulder, that they feel like they have some direction, and that they can make some accurate decisions and can take care of their loved one and make sure that they receive the love and care that they need for their final arrangements.
Awesome, awesome.
So with that, yes.
Oh, I was going to say that is That is amazing. We were talking to you the other day, and you were sharing with us, all of the things that kind of brought you to this place where you are right now. And it was just so beautiful. Could you share a little bit about, because you were at Ellie's place, and I don't know if, some people don't know because they're watching from different places. No one really knows what Ellie Place is. Tell us a little bit about that. Kind of, let everyone know just why is this a ministry for you? Why is this so important? Go.
Okay. So I actually volunteered at Ellie's Place, which is a grief counseling center that started here in Lansing, Michigan, and has actually spread through several communities throughout the state of Michigan. I know there's one in Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor. I think they're starting or looking to start a Detroit chapter. But I always tell our community, Ellie's Place is a diamond. We are so blessed to have it. And what it is, it's a place where children from 4 years old to 29 can go and meet with people that are in their age range and talk about the grief that they've experienced in their life, that they've lost a loved one, a parent, a sibling, a friend, grandparent, aunt, uncle, someone who was close to them in a big part of their life. And they're having trouble living with the grief and managing the grief. And the nice thing about Ellie's Place is not only is it a grief counseling center for children, they also have adult groups for if you've lost a spouse, a significant other, or if you're a suicide survivor, which is critical. So Ellie's Place is just the place that I was there for 10 years. And when I finally needed to resign from being there, I was going to take care of my mom and dad. So my last day at Ellie's Place was March 31st, 2014. And on April 1st, 2014, my father had a devastating accident where he fell in the middle of a road and did some damage to his face and his eyes, but he recovered from it. And so it all fell into place. And then in September of that same year, my father passed away. So then I was the caregiver for my mom. And in November of that year, she broke her leg. So she was in rehab for 4 months, and I ended up moving back home with her to take care of her. And she was later diagnosed with lung cancer. So for the last year and maybe year and a half of her life, I was her primary caregiver and was able to work with her and get her to where she needed to be. And so that when she passed away, well, before she passed away, I had retired from Michigan State University after 30 years. And so I had taken another position that didn't work out. So I had told my mom, I said, well, Mom, why don't we just live off of your money and we can go that way. And she was like, oh no, baby, you got bills, you need a job. So my job became that I ended up with is a part-time receptionist at Paradise Funeral Chapel. That's where just where God led me to go. Amen. So that's how I got to Paradise. And the grief counseling that I did with the children and the families really prepared me to meet with families where they are in their grief and to be able to share my story with people so that they can see that there's a way to get through it and to make sure you honor your loved one.
I know that we have all experienced death, either through a loved one, a friend, a parent. And so I myself experienced the death of a loved one. My younger brother passed away this year. And sadly, he passed away without any insurance, without any will, obituary, and the burden of putting him to rest pretty much fell on me. And so as a group, we want to bring about awareness as to the need to make final arrangements, plans, insurance, et cetera, et cetera. Share with us, if you would, in terms of making those pre-arrangements, how does that tie into what you're doing with Paradise Funeral Services?
I'm happy to do that. So at Paradise Funeral Chapel, we offer the service of pre-need or pre-arrangements for individuals or families who want to make their arrangements, their final arrangements known to their family. What will happen is you would come into our office and talk with me. We would actually go down a contract and you would select your casket. You would select what type of flowers you want, what program you wanted. If you're going to be buried or cremated, those are the two ways that bodies can be taken care of, disposed of. Also, you would let me know if there's some special things that you want done, that you want your family to know that you want done. A good thing to do is to write it down somewhere, and make sure your family has it so that they know what you want to do. When you do a pre-need with me, if you are in a situation where you aren't able to have a life insurance policy or to be able to pay large sums of money, what I can do is I can do two things. You can pay for a final burial insurance policy, or you can pay for your final burial, and I can route that money through the Michigan Funeral Directors Association, and you can start a fund there, and you can determine how much you want to put in there and when you want to pay it. With the Michigan Funeral Directors Association, it's not a pay every month, it's a pay as you can, whatever you can afford. With the insurance policy, there's several ways you can pay. If you can pay it all, if you're going to do something like a direct cremation, which will cost you a little less than $2,000, you can pay that all off, or you can start an insurance policy with the down payment and the first premium payment to this insurance company, and you can pay it bi-monthly, you can pay it semi-annually, you can pay it once a year, and you can pay on this for 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 years. It's not something you have to pay all off at one time. So if you can afford like maybe $50 a month and you can get it paid off in 5 years, that's great, depending on what you want.
Now, Deborah, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
You had mentioned when we talked before that, let's say that I used to live in Michigan, then I moved to Nevada.
Okay.
Now, how is that going to affect that, those pre-arrangements and everything?
So pre-arrangements, because they're done at an insurance company or with the Michigan Funeral Directors Association, they can transfer state to state.
Okay.
The policy is yours. You own the policy, not the funeral home. The trust, the final arrangements trust or arrangements that you have with Michigan Funeral Directors Association is yours. So what would happen is wherever you pass away, whatever state or whatever funeral home your family desires to use, they would contact the insurance company or Michigan Funeral Directors Association and say, we need to transfer these funds from Paradise Funeral Chapel to another funeral home. And that's across the nation. It doesn't matter where you are.
That's verbal.
It doesn't matter where you are. You can do that across the nation. You can transfer to any funeral home that you want to. We're just setting it up for you.
Awesome. Mm-hmm.
We don't. And let me just caution you, when you do make those payments, a reputable funeral home will ask you to either pay by check or credit card. And what I do is when I have my clients paid, they don't write a check to our funeral home.
Oh.
They write the check to the insurance company or the Michigan Funeral Directors Association.
Oh, okay.
So we can do a check, we can do credit cards, you can do a cashier's check, a money order, anything that's guaranteed money like that you can use, and you make it payable to the insurance company or the Michigan Funeral Directors Association. And every state has a Funeral Directors Association that should work like ours. So if you have any questions, contact your statewide Funeral Directors Association and ask them questions about a pre-need. Or you can talk to a local funeral home. They should be able to direct you in the same way.
That's good to
That
know.
brings me to a point. Can you clarify for people who really are not familiar with the term pre-need?
Mm-hmm.
Can you break that down for us?
So a pre-need is like if you are gonna go on vacation, if you're gonna go to college, if you're gonna get married, if you're gonna have a child, you save to do those things. It's not something you can do. Most people can't do like right away. They have to have a financial plan in order to do this. Well, a pre-need funeral arrangements is the same way. You plan for the passing, for your passing, so that what you do is you budget some money to be set aside to go toward this, so that when your time comes and you've passed away, your family is not burdened with trying to raise money to bury you. GoFundMe's are great when they work, but they don't always work.
Right.
You don't always get what you need. But if you would bless your family by having a pre-need with the insurance company that we use, not only when you do a pre-need for you, if you have children or grandchildren that are under 18, I think it is, you can put a free rider on that will cover them. So if something should happen to them, you can take care of their final needs also. And that's not at a cost to you. And if it is, it's nominal.
Mhm.
But that's something that you can do. But for a pre-need is just planning. I have done my pre-need. I have talked with my son and told him what I wanted. I told him, I want to be cremated, and you and your wife go to the Bahamas with the insurance money, have a great trip, take me with you, lay me out on the beach, and then you go live your best life.
That's right.
Now, that's what I would rather. I don't want to have a funeral. I don't want people looking at me or any of that. But what I realized is the funeral is not for the dead people, for people who
That's
have
right.
passed away. The funeral is for the living.
Yes.
And once I realized that, I told him there's enough money for you to do what you want to do. If you need to have a funeral with a viewing, then that's fine. That's what you do for you. But if you're doing it for me, I don't need that. If you want to do a memorial, do a memorial. However you want to take care of the process, it's up to you, but the money is there for you to take care of it. He doesn't have to worry about that at all. And so it's important to tell your family what you want. How do you want to be taken care of? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? But when you say that you want to be buried, you have to realize there's a cost to that. It costs more to be buried than it does to be cremated, because the grave site that you purchase is you actually purchase that land.
It's property. Yeah.
Yes, you own that property. You
Property.
own it. And then you have to, in Michigan, you have to put a vault in the ground for the casket to go in, and it's got to be sealed and then covered up. So all of that cost.
Right.
All of that cost. And then there's still the cost of the services from the funeral home, taking care of the body, dressing the body, putting the body, you need a casket, you want flowers, programs, you want to do nice things. And it's okay if you as a family, you want to do some of those things on your own, like buy your own flowers or do your own program. You can do all of that. That's not a problem. But we have those services where we have a relationship with a florist that we can order flowers from just by calling on the phone. We have, for us, our programs are all printed in-house. So we do the program. We have a couple graphic artists who actually put the programs together. They lay it out. The family approves it before we run the programs. And once we have their written approval, then we print the programs and they're available for the service. So we don't go out to have those done. Those are all done in-house, which is very, very helpful. It's just, we can assist you in any way. Whatever it is you want to do to make for your remembrance, for your celebration of your life, you just have to let it be known, and we can help the family to do that.
Mhm.
Well,
Deborah,
let,
share
let,
with us, if you would, in terms of a budget, or considering a person that's working on a minimal budget versus a person that has unlimited funds, in terms of someone having a deluxe package being buried versus someone who has essentially the bare minimum of services.
That's a very good question, Marquise. I want to just pause right here really quickly before Deborah answers. Just want to say hi to Hattie and to Brenda Mitchell. We got some people, some viewers, and they made comments. They wanted to say hi, so I did want to do that. We also want to encourage our viewers to leave comments, or to just chat with us and let us know if you have any questions, or if you want us to address anything. So I'm gonna go back and did you need him to reiterate that question, or are you there?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
So you're looking at a bare, I don't want to say a bare minimum, but at the low expenses would be a direct cremation, which means that we would pick the body up and then we would do the paperwork to get the cremation permit, and it would go right to the crematorium, and there would be no service, there would be no viewing, there would be nothing, just us picking up the body, taking care of it till we can get it to the crematorium and be cremated. And then the cremains would come back to our office, and that's where you would pick it up. Usually when someone passes, you want to do a death certificate. And I always suggest to families that at a minimum, you would like to take at least purchase 2 death certificates, simply because one, you're going to need to use to take care of business, because if they're living somewhere, if they have a car or a bank account, something like that, where their name, or they need to be notified that that person has passed, you'll need that death certificate, and they'll usually make a copy of it and give it back to you. And when it gets handled so many times, it starts getting frayed. The second copy would be your permanent record. You would put that where you put your important papers, like your wedding papers, your titles to your cars, birth certificates, wherever you put those, you'd want to put that with those important papers, so that at some point, if that death certificate is ever needed later on, you'd have it.
And sometimes they call for originals, you can't take a copy.
Yeah, sometimes and if you take them original, they'll make a copy and they're happy with that. So yeah, so like if you have like parents who have been married a long time and your parents, so what I want to really reiterate, but I'm going to finish this question and go back to remind me to talk about insurances. So we're probably looking at a minimum of like $2,000, $2,500 at a minimum. And you can go as high as you want, depending on the merchandise that you select. On an average right now, funerals with burials are running between $9,000 and $14,000. It just depends on which cemetery, what equipment or what merchandise you select, how many programs, what type of flowers. It just depends on what you select. It just depends on what you select. If you have a life insurance policy that the family can use to take care of your final needs, make sure that the beneficiary on that policy is still living. If you are married and you had a spouse who passed away and you did not take that spouse off that policy, that's going to create a problem, because what will happen is the insurance company is going to ask for a copy of the death certificate of the beneficiary who died, and then they'll work to determine who the next of kin is. So if you have children, depending on how many children you have, if your mother's already passed away and your father has not changed the beneficiary because she was the beneficiary on his policy and he passes away, she can't be the beneficiary. It's going to go to the children, and it's going to be divided up evenly among the children. There's not going to be I'm the oldest, so I should be in charge. The insurance company is not going to work like that. What they're going to tell you is if there's 4 kids are beneficiaries, it'll be divided evenly between the 4. Now, if you have a different breakdown that you want to do for whatever reason, you need to write that somewhere and let your kids find that, or leave it with the funeral home. But it's important, if you have an insurance policy, be sure that your beneficiary knows they're the beneficiary. And if there are other people that may be involved, please explain to them why that person, or only that person, is the beneficiary. Because in order for the insurance policy to pay, we have to have all of the beneficiary signatures. And that's if you're using the insurance policy to pay us. If you're using the insurance policy to pay us.
Oh.
If you do that, it's called an insurance assignment. And what that does is, say you have a $10,000 life insurance policy and your final arrangements cost $5,000. You're going to tell the insurance company, pay the funeral home the $5,000 and send the rest to me.
Okay,
Right.
I have a question here. First, I also want to say I said hi to Hattie and Raquel and Joyce. That's my mommy. Linda Brooks. Hey, Linda, we haven't seen you in a minute. We also Raquel wanted to ask, can you have two beneficiaries, a primary and a secondary?
Yes, you can. You can have two beneficiaries. And what will happen is, if you have a primary and then a secondary, the primary is the one who's going to be the name that's going to be the good signer. And we won't need the second one, just the first one. But if something happens to the first one, if they should pass away or become incapacitated, then the contingent, it's called the contingent beneficiary, would be in charge. And that would be the second person.
Now, you were giving us some examples of just some various situations that you've seen, you've noticed, and that you want to caution us about. Share with us some of those. Anything that might come to your mind that you feel is important for our viewers, our community to know and to consider, in addition to the things that you shared, because later we're going to use what you just said. We're going to see that in action. With Marquise is going to share with us his piece. But before we go there, I just want to hear some of those the precautions or just the examples of some of the things that you've seen.
So just several situations that I have seen is, if you have, you need to, your next of kin, how is your next of kin determined? So say you're a mother, you have an adult child who has an adult child, and your adult child, my adult child dies. And so as the mother, I'm next of kin. I want to say. Legally, you are not next of kin. If that person has an adult child over 18 or any adult children over 18, they are the next of kin if you do not have a spouse.
Oh, wow.
If you do not have a spouse, the children over 18 are next of kin. Now, anyone can make funeral arrangements and do a burial, but the problem comes with a cremation. With a cremation, you have to have the next of kin to sign off on it. Mom can't sign off on it if there's an adult child or adult children. They cannot, because she's not considered the next of kin. And the next of kin goes with degree of kinship. So for me, it would be me. If I were married, my spouse would be my next of kin, but I'm not. So my son is my next of kin, and he is my next of kin, and not my two brothers, but my son, because my son is directly related to me. He is my bloodline. He is a part of me. He was born from me. Because of him, he was born. So he is the next of kin.
Does it go in birth order though?
It doesn't necessarily have to go in birth order. You know, someone who's older may not be as responsible as someone who's younger.
But how do you prevent the fighting? I mean, among them, if you have a second oldest and then then the other, and like, no, I think that she could be cremated. No, I think she, how do you?
So what happens for that is, if you have more than one child, if you have more than one child, if you have like 2 children, then they both need to sign off on the cremation. If you have 3, 4, 5 or above, the majority needs to sign off. So if you have 5 kids, then I just need 3 of the 5 signatures to do for the cremation to be done. So
Now, if you've
that's how
already
it
made
works.
pre-arrangements, though, you don't have to go through all of that,
Well,
right?
you can sign your own cremation document
Okay. Yeah,
before.
and that'll eliminate all. That's
And
why.
that should help, but still legally, I don't know how well that works in legality, because I signed my own cremation form, but I do believe my son is going to have to sign something as next of kin to say that this is what I wanted and he's okay with it, that he's okay with me being cremated. Because once you've passed away, your right to make any decisions actually go away. They actually go away. So if the other thing is, if you are married and you are estranged and something happens to you, that person, that estranged spouse, is still legally your next of kin. So in order to circumvent that, what you want to do is appoint a funeral representative.
Oh, in your pre-need?
Yes, someone who can, you need to do that legally. You need to do a funeral representative to say that this is the person who has my permission to make all of my final arrangement decisions.
Is that including the burial as well?
Yes, if you want to be buried, if you want to be buried, you want to have because if you're still married to someone legally, they can come and make the arrangements that they want to make. If you wanted to be buried and they want to cremate you, they can cremate you. If you want to be cremated and they want to bury you, they can bury you. So what you want to do is, if you do the pre-need, it gives the family the idea of what it is you want to do and how you want it done. And they don't have to guess.
And I think some people, because I had a conversation with a couple of people, and I guess they didn't really think about that when you're legally separated, or when you're not legally divorced from that person. No, you haven't been with them for years and years and years, but they can come out of the blue and claim everything that you have, and then have the right to bury you or not, and give. And I just found this out with my sons, is that I have no grave rights because I can't put a headstone. If I would have wanted to put a headstone and there was no headstone, if I would want to do anything, I had no grave rights at all because his wife didn't give me any. And so therefore I didn't have any rights. Thank God we were able to work together on the services, and the thing. And so I really, really appreciate that from her on that. But other than that, people don't realize the mom has nothing, or family has nothing when there is a spouse.
That's right.
Whether they are there or not.
Together or not. Yes, that's very true.
Yeah. Hey, Aunt Grace. My Aunt Grace is here. She was there.
Hi.
She loves this. Raquel said, thank you very much. So Aunt Grace said some good information. So they're loving this because it's so important for all of us, because death happens. Death happens.
Let me say one more thing, if I can, about the insurance policy. If you have an insurance policy and you have not designated a beneficiary on that policy, what the insurance company is going to do is they're going to go to the next of kin. Again, if you're legally separated or estranged or not together, but still legally married, that insurance policy is going to go to your spouse, not your kids.
Wow.
All right. So you do need to make sure if you have an insurance policy, make sure you check on it right away to see who your beneficiary is. If you need to change the beneficiary, it's very easy. Contact the insurance company. They'll send you a form to change the beneficiary. And then make sure you send it back in, and they send you back a confirmation that the beneficiary has been changed.
Yeah.
Make sure you get that confirmation and put it with your policy.
Mhm.
All right.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen too. They thought they were the beneficiary, they had changed it, didn't follow through on the paperwork, and the person did not want to have the insurance ended up with it.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
Well,
So,
wow. This is just such great information. And when you're talking about that pre-need,
yeah.
and as well as just the final arrangements, it seems like there's so much that we have to consider, because we just don't know. Some of us just don't know. We had learned the last show that you can even write a letter, you know, and like you mentioned earlier, you can write a letter just giving specific instructions. But now you've given us something else. You can also designate your final expense representative, which is something that, you know, I didn't know that can be in a part of your pre-need.
Right.
And so we had talked about last show that we wanted to hear, you know, we wanted to see Marquise. He actually put a package together, and he did his pre-need. He did his pre-need. He did, you know, he really had as an example. Now, he's not going to go through the whole book, but he is going to give us some of the things that he actually did, and it kind of puts it in perspective. Everything that you've shared, he's kind of done that in action. But before we do that and have you to share that, Marquise, why don't we see, is there anything else that you feel, Deborah, that is important for us to know that you want? You can come back and have final words, but we want to just say, you know, is there anything? Yeah.
The one thing I want to say about a pre-need is this: if you come and set up a pre-need and you pay $500 down, for us, that's what it is, pay a $500 down on a pre-need that we've written out on a contract, that will lock the price in for your burial, for your final arrangements. That will lock it in. When you pay for it, it's locked in. And that is good, because if you do it in 2022 and you don't pass away till 2052, 30 years from now, your family is going to pay the price that you paid in 2022. So they are not going to pay the inflation prices, you know, 5, 10, 30 years from now. They won't. What happens is, when we take that money and put it with the Michigan Funeral Directors Association or with the insurance company, that money draws interest to keep up with the rising costs of final arrangements.
See,
so that's another reason that you want to do a pre-need.
Yeah. I love the fact that it's portable, because I live in Michigan, then I stay in Nevada at times, and I stay in California at times, and I stay in Georgia at times, and I don't know where I'm gonna be when, you know, when it's time, time. And the fact that you can literally port this to where you are, then it doesn't mean that my body, it doesn't mean my body has to be shipped to this one funeral home.
Correct.
You know, I really like that, because I didn't know that when you shared that with us.
And you can do that locally, citywide, statewide. If you have a pre-need with a funeral home somewhere in your hometown, and you decided you want to go to another funeral home instead, all you have to do is contact the company, contact the funeral home, and let them know you want to transfer your policy to another funeral home. And you can do that. They can't not let you do it. If you decide that you want to transfer your policy, you'll get a copy of the policy, so you'll know the name of the insurance company that's holding that policy. You can contact them directly and say, I would like to transfer this policy from this funeral home to that funeral home.
No, that brings up a point, though. You hear the nightmares about, you know, funeral directors or funeral, you know, arrangers taking that money and just putting it and spending it, and now, you know, there's nothing. So
Lavishly,
what happened?
lavish.
What if someone is in that kind of situation where they pay into it and then they tell them, I'm sorry, that's not portable. No, we can't transfer it. That's gone. What do people do?
They should be putting it into an insurance policy. They should not be keeping it with the funeral home. If that has happened, you need to contact your state licensing bureau, who's
Okay.
or
When
the
you say,
Michigan Funeral Directors, your statewide Funeral Directors Association, and let them know.
when
But
you say they, who are you meaning
the,
they should be
that
putting in?
the funeral home that you're talking with should be putting any pre-need money into an insurance policy or into a paid fund with their state Funeral Directors Association. That money should not be kept by the funeral home. It should not be kept by the funeral home.
Yeah, that is great information.
And we just had a situation a few years ago here in Michigan when a funeral home in another city had taken people's cash payments, and instead of turning them in, they put them in their pocket. And they're out that money. There's no way to recoup it unless they can recoup it from that individual, and they couldn't.
Wow.
So that's why I say, when you pay for your pre-need, pay with a credit card if they'll take it. Pay with a cashier's check, a personal check, a money order, some way that guarantees your money that you can get it back if they mishandle it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's for your protection.
That's good information.
That's
Thank
for your
you.
protection. Because like I said, when you do a pre-need with me, you're not paying a check to the funeral home. You're going to write a check to either the Michigan Funeral Directors Association or to our insurance company.
Gotcha.
That's it. That's
Great.
it. Yeah. And if you have a life insurance policy, what you can do with the Michigan Funeral Directors Association is you can put up to right now a little over $11,000 out of that policy, have it set aside and assigned to a funeral home for your final needs, so that whatever is left in the policy is going to go to your beneficiary. And that portion of your insurance policy will be used for your final expenses, so that your family won't even have to come out of pocket, and they won't have to deal with the insurance company. We'll take care of all of that. And the insurance company will know to send that part of the life insurance policy to us and the balance to the beneficiary. So yeah.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. That is really good. Marquise, you've got some steps for us that we need to look at, don't you, for really preparation out of your own experience?
Yes, Linda, I do. And let me just briefly share this with our audience. I put together this packet, and it's put in a visible place where my beneficiaries will be able to see it in the event that I pass away. And in this packet are my prepaid burial plans, insurance, life insurance, accidental insurance. I went from A to Z in terms of all my accounts, passwords, account numbers, et cetera, et cetera. And the very first page mentions that if you're reading this, I, Marquise John Evans Sr., your father, I'm passed away, I kicked the bucket, I'm gone on to glory, time's up, blah, blah, blah. These are my instructions, and I ask that you adhere to them as they are written. Because I sat with my sons and I showed them this. Because I don't want the burden to fall on them as to wonder this, that, or where's this. So I put together this packet that has all my information, my physicians, bank accounts, every deduction from Planet Fitness, et cetera, account numbers, everything. And I also went as far as to write out my own obituary so that my sons wouldn't be fumbling over, well, what did dad do with his life? This is a record that gives them a written document for my obituary. So also
That's family history too.
it's family history.
They may not know all the details of, of everything. Like,
not intimately. I mean, of course they know, but this gives them a hard copy, a printed document that they can use, versus someone kind of playing the guessing game. Where did dad go to school? Where did he work? When did he retire? Et cetera, et cetera. So also, I included in this all my possessions. I have a house that looks like a bookstore and a bike shop. So
we can see those books, Marquise.
So that's what I was gonna say. Yes.
Every possession that I have, if they don't want it, donate to charity. I have some family heirlooms. My sister requested to be passed on to her a portrait that's been in the family for generations. So she would get that. Automobile is designated who gets the automobile. I have a cat somewhere around here. If no one takes him in, then give him to a nice home somewhere. Of course, I have, as you can see, fish. Somewhat of an aquarium aficionado. So every detail. I don't think I left out anything in terms of my possessions.
Now they know where it is, right? They can locate your file.
Exactly. It's visible. It's in the open. It's not hidden in a drawer, or it's not, somewhere behind a bookcase, stuff somewhere. No, this is out in the open, so that in the event that of my untimely death, and Lord willing, I plan to live to be 100, but tomorrow is not guaranteed, and so this takes the burden off of them, and everything is prearranged, prepaid. I want to be cremated, so that the simplicity, the burden does not fall on them. So, and it behooves anyone to at least begin to think, what if I die? What happens next? Who are my survivors? Do I have insurance? Who has access to all my records? Things of that nature. So I can rest at night knowing that it's done. It gives me a great sense of peace of mind that it's done. So with that in mind,
I want to jump in here for a minute because you did such an amazing job. I mean, when I first saw that book and you were sharing with me, I was like, wow, we couldn't wait to do the show, right? Because that's really what prompted these two shows, because we were like, people are just, I think it was the whole, we kept seeing GoFundMe's and people just not being ready, and then the situation with your brother, and it's just so many reasons to do these shows, and to we got one final show where we really want to do, we want to answer questions, have both our guests come back if they choose to just answer questions that anybody might have, or questions we receive. But I want to be the angel's advocate for a moment here, and bring Deborah back in, because I think this is kind of important, because as she was sharing it, I thought of some critical things that it may not be with your family, but it may be with other families is number one is that shouldn't that stuff be electronic? Shouldn't it be, or so, you say it's out in the open, but what if someone, what if something happened and God forbid, but the house got caught on fire or that got destroyed some kind of way and that was gone because there's no other kind of record of it, or or what if your spouse comes and say, I don't agree with any of that and I'm the next of kin, and yeah, I see you got all of that, but hey, I'm the next of kin. Where are we at with that, Deborah?
So,
Or Marquis, whoever wants to answer first,
yeah.
but yeah.
Well, let me just preface this by saying I am now married. My lovely wife, Raquel, the love of my life, she will assume beneficiary decision making as my next of kin versus my sons. So, and that's something that her and I plan to discuss later. But yeah, she would be the one that would make all the final decisions, the insurance, et cetera, et cetera. So, love you, baby.
Yeah. And what you
That
want
is
to
a
do
good
is,
idea, Mary.
yeah.
It's a good idea to make it digital as well as physical.
And
Mhm.
do you have to change all of that stuff again, Deborah? Would he have to change that because his wife is taking over that stuff? Would he have to change what he's already has? Would that stand in the pre-need? Talk to us about that.
So if he hasn't designated his sons as his funeral representatives, then that wouldn't change. What would happen is his wife would be the next of kin and would be the one who would be in charge. So there is that. If you're not certain that your children can take over that responsibility because they'll be so distraught at your passing, then yes, you do want to designate someone that can work with them, that can assist them in making decisions. Because most times, if you have a funeral representative and you have family members, they're going to consult with the family, hopefully to see what it is that they want to do, hopefully, but they don't have to. So you want to make sure it's someone who cares not only about you, but also your family that's willing to work with them, not someone who's going to just take it over and take the money and run. It should be someone that you trust. It should be someone that you have a relationship with, that you trust them, that they'll do the right thing for you and about your family, those types of things. So it can get.
Deborah, one question I have for you. You've done a lot of grief counseling with different age groups and all of that. Let's say that your children that you leave behind, particularly you're very concerned about, and they're grieving. Do most funeral homes, where would I go to find, or where should people go to find counseling, grief counseling specifically for those who are underage, or particularly those who are underage?
That's a great
Children and
question.
adults.
That's a great
Most
question.
funeral homes don't necessarily offer those services, do they?
Some do, some don't. But what I can tell you is most communities now have a grief counseling center for children. If you were to Google grief counseling center for children near you, it should come up with some names and places. They may not all be called Ellie's Place. Ellie's Place is designated that because a woman who lost her child whose name was Ellie, their family wanted to find some services for their other children to grieve their sister, and there wasn't anything or anywhere they could go. So they helped to found Ellie's Place. And that's how Ellie's Place started. And usually that's how a lot of the grief counseling centers will start, is because there's a family that needed that service. The service wasn't available. And so they started it. They found a way, got their friends and family together and started the service.
Ellie's Place, is that a Michigan thing?
It's actually it's a Lansing, but there's different names. There's a place, I know there's a place called Dougie's House or something like that. But if you just Google grief counseling centers, they're all going to have different names, but they're all going to do the same thing.
Okay.
They're all going to do the same thing. And Ellie's Place is a free grief counseling center for children and for their families. They don't have to pay anything. But I can't say that about the other centers. I don't know what their criteria or their financial needs are. You'd have to check individually with each of those. And if I can say one more thing, on our website at paradisefuneralchapel.com, there is a link that says pre-planning. And you can click on that link and it gives you several drop-down menus where you can type the information in for your pre-planning. It asks you specific questions about your pre-planning and answers pertinent questions. You can fill that in and then save it and print it out.
Oh, cool.
So that's on our website to give you an idea for some pre-need planning. And most funeral homes now have their websites and they will have a pre-need tab that you can click on and use. But if you do have any questions here in the Lansing area or Saginaw, we have a location in Saginaw, Michigan also. Please call because we have pre-need counselors at both locations.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's good to know that most funeral homes have a drop down that you can make this digital, the pertinent information, most pertinent information. That's great to know.
And if you're going to do like what Marquise has done, if you're going to do something like that, if you've done your pre-need, it would be good to send those copies about your obituary, pallbearers, how you want the order of service, have all that at the funeral home so they at least have it on hand.
Okay.
And can put it in your file and it's there so that when your family comes in, that counselor can say to them, well, your dad left us some information or your husband left us some information that he wanted us to share with you at this time. And so here it is. And you can present that to them and that's very helpful. But that's a good thing to do because you'll know that if they can't find that information as far as the pre-needs, but not the personal business information, but as far as your service request for your final arrangements, make sure that funeral home that has your pre-need has a copy of that.
I see.
And also, wouldn't it be advisable to maybe have a safe deposit box or something? Because he said all his passwords to different things is, and I'm just thinking a safe deposit box or some, and then maybe just to have that in his will that, that's where they can find it or somewhere, because I'm just thinking that if something should happen for whatever reason, and I'm not just talking about Marquise, but I'm saying for our viewers, anybody, you should have a safe backup for the stuff that you put together.
Right. So if you don't have a safe deposit box at the bank or your credit union, get a fireproof safe, a small fireproof box for your house and put it in there and make sure that someone has the key to it other than just yourself.
Right. Put it on a flash drive.
You can do that. Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
That's a good idea, Mary. I'll look into that, Mary Ann.
Yeah.
Thank you, because stuff happens. And
It does.
That's right.
Well, folks, we're nearing the hour here.
Oh, you went muted.
Sorry.
There you go.
There you are.
We're nearing the hour, the end of the show. It's been a great show with some great information. And I just want to, I've been traveling, so I'm sorry I'm not on camera, but I just want to, I'm in a public place. But I did want to just thank you so much, Deborah, for all of the information. It's just been so wonderful. And thank you, Marquise, for sharing with us how we can really put this into action, with this information. I did see Brenda Mitchell came on and Ava came on and they said that it's good information. So people need this kind of information and for our community members and family, share this information, share these shows, share these links so that you can pass this word around. Word of mouth is so important. And this is the type of stuff we should be talking about because death happens. No matter what you think, you gonna die.
Right.
Somebody in your family gonna die. There's death happens.
Yeah.
And
We hear
does.
so we
stories.
should be prepared
Yeah.
and, you know, and lessen the burden. We want to leave a legacy. Well, leave a legacy of preparation for you so that
Yes.
your family
Exactly.
can feel like, hey, thanks so much for helping
Yes.
me through this process.
Yes.
Because truly, I'm with you. A lot of times you just don't think during that time. You're
You
so
don't.
emotional. I think
It's true.
you really drove that home,
Right.
Deborah, where you're so emotional, you just don't think. So it's best that you go on and hit it up front, then then be proactive versus reactive. And
Correct.
so that's what I want to end with. And so if you all have any last words, I'm gonna let you do that. And so I look forward to yeah, Deborah, hopefully you'll come back and answer some questions when you know, if we get enough questions, and I think we've gotten some that we would just want just you to open it up for people to come on camera, or they just to call in or whatever, and ask those questions live. So we'll have you and Andre to come back, and you know, because some of these people, so for people in Lansing, they can reach you where and how.
Mhm.
They can reach me at Paradise Funeral Chapel and Arrangement Services. We're located at 1107 East Miller Road in Lansing. Our phone number is 517-272-1035. That's 517-272-1035. You can also reach us by email at pfclansing@gmail.com. That's pfclansing@gmail.com, like Paul Frank Charles Lansing@gmail.com. You can also leave us a message on our website. That's paradisefuneralchapel.com. Just Google Paradise Funeral Chapel. It's going to come up with a Lansing and a Saginaw location, and it doesn't matter. There's a place where you can leave a comment or leave a space for questions or ask us to contact you on our website. And we look at those and we will get in touch with you, either our Saginaw office or our Lansing office, whichever area you need to talk with.
Mhm. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Deborah. The information is just
Yeah,
invaluable.
it was good.
And we wish you
Uh,
the best in your ministry, the continuation
Thank you.
of your
Thank
ministry
you.
and assisting people through the grieving process, and especially our children.
I just want to add this final comment. I believe it was last year, and even this year. Every time I opened up my Facebook page, there was a notice that someone had died. And last year and this year, I know I attended somewhere between 6 to 10 funerals. And so death is upon us. You know, as they say, two things
Part of
guaranteed
life.
in life, death and taxes. So we all are going to die. And so it is so pertinent. When my brother died, and understanding that he had no insurance, he had no obituary, he had no will, planning his funeral, paying for it, organizing it, arranging it, it gave me purpose, and it gave me a labor of love. But everybody is not well off financially to pay for someone else's funeral. Like Andre said last week, folks raise money, barbecue dinners, chicken dinners, potluck dinners, GoFundMe pages. And so it is so important that we bring about awareness that there are instruments out there that can be purchased, can be paid for, that will alleviate the burden of burying a loved one. So, Deborah, I thank you. We thank you for sharing with us this evening. It's been very educational. Look forward to having you back.
I look forward to being back. I'm happy to come back.
Okay.
Answer any questions.
Let me look and see if there's any last comments. And which I think, oh my gosh, I think that there are not. Let me look here 1 second. folks, because I just put away my phone. So anyway, yeah, okay, yeah, it's just some good information was said, and I think that was it. People shared. Thank you so much. The last comments, yeah. So there we go. Sorry. So thank you again, and everyone, thank you so much for listening. Come back, join us again, and we look forward to seeing you all on our next show in a couple of weeks, 2 more weeks. We'll be
Okay.
back. God be with you all, and bye for now.
Thank you, Deborah. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.